Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and if you're new here, we talk about your life renaissance. I'm a single mom of three. I went through the 6 month bariatric program, and then I had my RNY Gastric Bypass surgery in August of 2024. I usually have my homie Luis with me for these meetings. I've known Luis for 30 some odd years. When we started the bariatric program, he said he would join me to get himself a little healthier, separate from the program. And since February 2024, we've been on this journey together. It took us to about April of 2024 to really understand there was a piece missing. And that was when we decided to have weekly check-in meetings, talk about our weight, our week, what went well, what didn't, and then bounce solutions off of each other to get back on track. Our weekly check-in isn't about just bariatric surgery or weight loss or health. We talk about everything, mostly comic books and nerd stuff, but sometimes politics. Sometimes it's just me bitching about my kids. And after a few weeks of our consistent weekly meetings, I started noticing a change. Like my outlook improved. I was able to handle stress a little better. I was able to troubleshoot glitches in my efforts a little better. All because of these weekly meetings. Now you should know, I don't have friends at all. I'm a single mom of three. I work two jobs. I have less than zero time to make new friends, let alone hang out with them once a week. Lewis is kind of in the same boat because he works all the time and he frankly hates most people. So if you don't have someone to do a weekly meeting with, we are here. We are doing monthly meetings here for all of our members. Your Renaissance is a very personal and private journey. Not everyone wants to share that with their family and friends, but you can share it here. With that, let's jump right into our monthly meeting. And if you have any comments or any questions, or if you want to check in, just say so in the comments and we'll get to you. Ready? Let's fucking go. So, since this is the inaugural meeting, I got myself a little outline so that we could kind of stay on track. I don't know how many people are going to be joining today, but what I really wanted to talk about first, I wanted to do my check in and I wanted to explain exactly why this type of meeting is so very important. So for me, I did my yearly check-in was on the first, right? That was on Wednesday. And I do measurements, I do the weigh-in, and I do pictures. And in the pictures, I do two kinds of pictures. I do pictures of like just me in my underwear, and then I do pictures in this same shirt just over and over so that I can kind of see how the progression goes. Um, it's like the shirt that I chose. I went to visit my sister in March of last year, and she lives in Oahu. So I had got this rash guard, right? And it was like a 2X or a 3X when I got it. But you know, they're supposed to kind of be tight anyway. And I thought this is gonna be perfect. And so I took my first picture with that when I got back from my April 1st of last year. And every month I take a picture in that shirt so that I can compare it month to month to month to month. Not just post surgery, but during the whole bariatric program. So I did that on the first. I weighed in on the first 181.6, 181 pounds, 0.6 pounds, which is really good. That means I've lost like 40 some odd pounds since surgery. And that brings me up to a total of 120 pounds lost since I started the bariatric program. So I had to do 70 pounds of that on my own. And that was tricky. And one of the reasons why I was successful was because of my weekly meetings with Luis. So I do a weigh-in also every Sunday. It's just a weigh-in. I don't take pictures or anything. It's just a weigh-in because so much can happen in just a week, right? Depending on where I am in my cycle, I could gain 15 pounds and then lose it the next day just because hormones and I don't know, the position of the moon. So I only weigh once a week. I only take pictures once a month. And I only take measurements once a quarter because there's just so many fluctuations that can happen when and this is just for me, I don't, everybody's different, but this is just for me. If I take measurements more frequently than that, I feel like I'm not making any progress because the number moves so slow. So, so there was my check-in. Back to my checklist. So, why do the weekly meeting with somebody actually help? I'm sure there's all kinds of medical texts, psychological texts that say talking to another person who can understand what you're going through, who can empathize and help to give you ways to get better will only benefit you. And that kind of makes sense when you say it out loud. To actually put it into practice is actually really tough, especially if you're like me and you're a single parent. I'm, I have three kids. I have almost 17-year-old, I have a 15-year-old, and I have a 10-year-old. And they each require so much energy. So it's real easy to say, you know what, I can't because, or I can't meet this week because of, right? Um, so the first thing that I had to do to get, I got something in my eye. I'm sorry. Hang on. Is that better? We'll see. The first thing that I had to do is I had to block out time as if I was going to a doctor. And that's hard. That's hard because I'll have my boss will call me and be like, can you work? Or I'll have my other boss, because I got two jobs. Hey, can you work? And as a single parent, money is very important, right? I don't get child support or anything like that. So it's real easy to blow off the meeting when you have it in a frame of mind of that's just me hanging out with my homie. But that's not what it is, right? It's so much more important than that. So I had to, in my mind, raise it to a level that was a bit higher than that. So just like I would a doctor's appointment or um, working a shift, right? Like that has to happen. So like my kids know, Thursdays from 6 to 8, that is my check-in time for my mental health, my physical health, and they, of course, if there's an emergency, whatever, they can, of course, get a hold of me. But I physically leave my house. We go to a restaurant, a local place, whatever, so we can just sit for a couple hours, talk about what happened, get something to eat, and uh, kind of support each other with the problems that we have. And because I don't have friends and I'm a delight, I assume that other people don't have friends. Especially as a grown up, it's kind of hard to make friends. Most of my friends are friends that I've had like since high school. Most of my friends, I say that like I got 800,000. I have four. That's it, four. So, uh, I don't exactly have a lot of people to, whoops, what's that? A lot of people to do this kind of check-in with. And I was thinking about it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one without friends, but I'm also sure that if you're like me, when I was trying to lose weight on my own without the assistance of a doctor, a team, friends, family, I was never successful. If I got really depressed, I could be successful, but that was always temporary. So I know weight and what's associated with it mentally can be very draining and very personal. It's a private condition that you're dealing with. Like if you had hemorrhoids, you gotta walk around and tell everybody about that shit. But you really need to talk about it. You need to frame it in your mind so you can be successful. So that's why I'm here. Think of me as your bariatric best friend, right? We're here to shoot the shit, talk about your successes, your what do we want to call those? Um, Learning opportunities, because I don't like the word failure. I also don't like the word fat, but every now and then it'll sneak out. Um, but that's is this is really a place for support. This is a place to bring you a little peace and straighten out the spaghetti of nuts in your brain into nice straight lines so you can figure it out and get it all sorted. And then it's easier to do your job and stay on track. The other thing is that I've been there. I don't fucking judge. I know what happens. I know what can happen to throw you off track. Every little thing. Now I come from a 17-year verbally and emotionally abusive relationship that ended going on 7 years. See him every day, still, because we have children. So that is a huge part of why I had gained so much weight and trying to get past the residual trauma of the neglect and the verbal abuse is extremely difficult. And like I still struggle with it. And frankly, if I wasn't in therapy, I don't know what I would do. I've really therapy has brought me so far. But some people aren't comfortable with seeing a therapist. Some people just want to gab. So that's why I'm here. I'm here so that we can sit and gab. I love to chat. Uh, what else? One of the drawbacks of one of the drawbacks of the weekly meetings that I have with my homie Luis is that I have to look him in the face and say, I fucked up. I did not do what I was supposed to do this week, or I did not meet my goals. And that's hard, you know? Then at the beginning, I hated that part because as a single mom, you don't want to let anybody down, right? You're under all this pressure to do everything just the way it's supposed to be. So even when it comes to yourself, if it's not perfect, fuck it. Why do it? And then the whole thing just goes to shit. But with Louise and the weekly meetings and my goal for this group is I want us to be able to embrace our mistakes so that you can move forward, right? Um, an example of that is so I had my surgery in August, right? And I was in the hospital about 3 days. And I come home and I was still on a pureed diet, but I was so hungry. So my kid's like, Mom, why don't we take a walk? And I said, okay, great, let's take a walk. So we took a walk to the subway, right? And I grabbed myself a BLT, a foot-long BLT, and I was so happy and I thought I was being so smart, right? And I took it home and I threw it in the blender and it tasted bomb. I shit you not. I pureed BLT sandwich. It was so good. But as my first real experience with eating actual food after surgery, I way overdid it. I filled myself up so much to where I was sick and I felt so uncomfortable and I was already in pain from the surgery. It made for a miserable, miserable time. But I still went on my weekly meeting and I told Louise, I was like, okay, so I know that I'm not supposed to have, or at least I'm not supposed to intake a whole lot of bread, right? And I didn't put in all the bread. I didn't, but I did have more than I should have. And I was like, I fucked up. I fucked up and and I felt really bad. But he was just like, you know what? This shit happens, and now you know you're gonna get sick if you fuck up, and that makes me feel better. It does. It makes me feel better, right? It's like, oh, okay, yes, that's right. So it's like switched in my mind from a scolding to, you know, well, if you do that, this is going to happen, so don't do that. And my brain, instead of going, fuck you, I can do whatever I want, it went, I can do whatever I want, but I don't want to get sick. So that shift in thinking is the whole purpose behind these weekly meetings, to shift the thinking from how I used to think, being a food addict and dependent on food because, my relationship was falling apart. Um, that's hard. That's hard to get through. And even with therapy, I put things in place to help me to combat some of the things, being able to make boundaries and things like this. But it's if you don't put it into practice, then it doesn't mean anything. I can say that I'm going to do boundaries all day. If I don't put them into place and I don't actually enforce them, then it's nothing. It's just me being who I was. So, on that same premise, me knowing what I'm supposed to eat, how I'm supposed to eat, what I'm not supposed to eat, and not putting it into practice, that's stupid. So, that's another reason why at our weekly meetings we go to restaurants because it's a way to practice eating and making the right choices while I have my training wheels, Luis guy there, right? So I can say, oh, look, I think I'm going to get this. And he'll be like, are you sure? Or, okay, how are you going to modify it? And then we walk through those things. Not to brag, but I'm getting pretty good. It's been 4 months. So, um, other than that, uh, that's that's pretty much the weekly meetings in a nutshell. It's practice. It's reviewing what actions have actually been taken to move you forward, or review what you need to change because you moved backwards a little bit or you didn't move forward at all. Um, it's also things like, so between like 3rd and 6th months after surgery, there's very typically a weight stall where you kind of hang around. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're following all your doctor's orders. You're taking all your vitamins. You're doing everything that you need to do. For whatever reason, the scale isn't moving. So in these weekly meetings, you talk about things other than the weight part because the weight part is only like this much out of the whole thing, right? And we celebrate non-scale victories. It's not about the number when it comes to, with doctors, they rely heavily on numbers, but not for me. Like that doesn't turn my crank, right? So for me, it's the non-scale victories. Did I have to take in the my watch band so that it fit more snugly because it was getting too loose? Did I change sizes? You know, things like this. I was real excited when I first started losing weight, like in April or May, after only a few months where I had lost some weight, and I didn't have to hold the seatbelt anymore. Because when you're real heavy, it comes and it cuts you like right here, and then it comes like right across your boobs, and it's just not comfortable at all. It's just like this whole thing. And I was so excited. I was so excited to go out and not have to hold the seat belt to stay comfortable, right? So the next big, when I go out, I'm going to visit my sister again this year. And so my next big non-scale victory is being able to fit in the airplane seat, just one. so excited. I'm hoping I'll be there, but I just, I don't know. It's been so long, and the flight there was fine, but the flight on the way back, because I was like, fuck it, I'm on the way back. I'm gonna get the cheap seat, right? It's like this big. My knees were on the seat in front of me. My sides, because I was very wide and I had to get that extender thing, and oh, it's horrible. It was so bad. So that's the next big milestone is, not having to or being able to fit in an airplane seat. That's a big non-scale victory for me. I really can't wait to hit that one. But um, other than that, that's basically what we're going to be doing here as well. Now, here we're going to be doing this one mo once a month. It's going to be the first Sunday of every month, unless something odd comes up. And I thought that February would be a problem, but Super Bowl is not till the following week, so it's fine. Um, so our next monthly meeting is going to be on February 2nd. Same time, 11:30. It's going to be the same link. So I'll make sure to post that. And then, feel free to bring anybody who may be struggling, who just wants to check in and just sit and chat. That's really all this is, to make sure that you're not alone. Being heavy, according to my bariatric surgeon and my endocrinologist, is obesity is a chronic metabolic condition. You will be fighting it for your entire life. And when you stop thinking of it as oh, they're just lazy or they're not doing what they need to do just because they don't want to, and you start looking at it as, okay, this is a medical condition that takes constant effort, it changes the way you approach it. Now, one of the big things that I've been struggling with, especially since uh, post-op, is my exercise portion. Now, there are four main things post-surgery that you really have to do to be successful. The first one is you got to take your vitamins. Whether you get the gastric sleeve, you get the gastric bypass like I had, that duo something that I didn't qualify for, so I never really looked into it. And there's a couple other options. There's like the lap band that you can do. Anything. A lot of those surgeries are based on malnourishment, right? It's not absorbing as many vitamins and minerals as you normally would. That's part of why it works. It's not absorbing as much carbs. It's not absorbing as much shit, right? But on the flip side of that, it leaves you needing extra. So you have to constantly be on a vitamin regimen, right? So you got to make sure you take your vitamins. That's the first leg of it, right? The second is, of course, the food. If you eat like shit, not only are you going to feel like shit, you're going to go right back to where you were. So for me, the eating part, that's what I had to focus on. Even though, if I'm being real honest about it, none of this weight loss journey, from the bariatric program to all the times I tried to lose weight before, none of it is about food or exercise. It's all about your brain and the mental condition, at least what I found, the mental condition that you're in. If you don't it, address weight and weight gain holistically as a group or a huge collage picture, then it's not going to get solved. It will continue to be a problem. And so my biggest problem is that I'm addicted to food. Addicted. Because there was no other way for me to feel joy. I was in a verbally abusive relationship. I'm I'm a mom, right? And so there's so much pressure and shame and low self-esteem that results from that mixture. The only thing that brought me joy was food. Oh, and I could fuck up food. Seriously, I could fuck up food. So that's the second one. The second one is you have to watch what you eat. You have to eat well. Eat to feed your body appropriately. The third thing is rest. Now, single mom, two jobs. I don't get to sleep. That's not a thing, but you have to. Your body does the repairs, the growth, the advancement while you're at rest, not while you're in the gym working out. No, not when you're walking around the block 80 times just to get in the steps. No, it's when you're asleep, off in la la land, being very happy. So you gotta make sure that you get good, consistent rest. They say 7 to 9 hours a night. I know that number is impossible to me. If I get 5, I'm happy, right? But you gotta try. You really gotta try. But then the fourth thing, and then that's the one that I'm struggling with, is the exercise. I don't own a car. My work is literally a half mile from my house. So I walk to and from work every day. And then I walk to and from work at my lunchtime. So I do a total of 2 miles for 5 days a week. But since surgery, I had cut back on that a little bit because first I couldn't really walk that far. Um, so starting tomorrow, actually, is I'm going full-fledged into an exercise routine to help me work the physical part of it out. I need to get more physical exercise. Yeah, I'm eating about 600 calories a day. And yeah, that's going to drop weight, but it's not going to make me any healthier. It's just going to make gravity work less, right? You gotta do all four of those at the same time. If you are missing out on any one of those steps, you're not going to be advancing the way that you should. So that's one of my big challenges because, I did too. I got 3 kids. I'm gonna work out now. I was having a hard enough time trying to find an hour or two to check in with my buddy, right? Instead of now every day I'm pulling an hour aside. It seems, no, it doesn't seem that way. My old self, my old pattern wants to say, look, Laura, fuck it. You just don't have the time. But I don't think it's about having the time or finding the time like it's hidden. I think it's about making the time. I got to, and because this is a personal challenge for me, I've got to make the time to work out like I make the time to do my check-ins with Luis. I just make the time to do it. I make the time every week to plan out my week that's upcoming to make sure that I'm on track for my food intake, to make sure that if there's any kind of hurdle coming up, that I'm prepared for that. Because again, the surgery is very helpful. It's a great, great tool that could make me very successful in my overall health goals, right? But it doesn't stop me from being who I was. So I'm still addicted to food, and I still use food as a way to comfort myself. But also in that, I still use food as a crutch, even if I don't have the physical space in my little egg-sized stomach to do it, right? So it's changing that part that I think makes a big difference. That's going to make the big difference. But anyway, so that's it. I'm trying to keep these just like a half hour. I know you guys don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of time, but it's so important that you meet with somebody. So if you have any questions, feel free to I'm on the Patreons, obviously, as you know. Put things in the comments, and I will get back to you the best that I can. Um, and if you want additional, like, I'm I have memberships on my Patreon that'll give you uh, more frequent check-in meetings or private check-in meetings so that you can, have somebody to talk to. You don't feel like you're alone. All right, that's it. Again, the next monthly meeting is going to be on Sunday. On Sunday, oh, the 2nd. It's going to be the same time, 11:30 to 12. And then I guess that's it. Take care, everybody.